Hey folks, welcome to this first ever video review here on Passion for Sound. Today we're going to be looking at the ALO Continental V5 amplifier, and I'd like to start off by sending a warm thanks to Mark from the Sound Freak for lending me his own personal unit for this review, so thanks Mark. So the Continental V5 is a bit of a culmination of technologies for ALO. They've been in the industry making amplifiers for a long time now, and this really represents a bringing together of much of what they've learnt. And you can certainly hear the benefits. So let's unpack the box and take a look at what's inside. So taking a look at the amplifier, you can see on the front here we've got headphone socket, we've got the low and the high gain switch, there's your line input, and a rotary volume control. Now this control is also the power switch for the unit. So if I now turn it over, and show you there's a grill here both on the side and top, and that lets you see through to the tube. If I now turn on the switch, you'll see that blue light coming on in there and also an orange light. Now the blue light's letting us know that there's actually a mute circuit switched on right now. That's going to stop any cracking, popping, hissing that might come from the tube while it's warming up, which is completely normal, and that's going to switch off shortly and allow the sound to then come through once the tube's ready to deliver its goodness. Turning to the back, you'll see at the back here we have the power status LED, so that's going to let you know when the unit's on, when it needs to be charged, when it's fully charged, etc. And there's also a micro USB socket for charging. Over on the back here, you'll see we've got 4 hex head screws, and these are designed to be nice and simple, easily accessible screw heads, nothing proprietary. And the idea of that is you can easily remove the back to actually try the different tubes that could be inserted into this amplifier. So I thought while I had the amplifier open to change the tubes, I'll just give you a really quick look at the insides of it. All you really need to know is that the tube is here. It's removed very easily just by pulling it away from the volume control there. And there's a very simple multi-pin plug that's used to attach the tube and obviously connect it to the circuit. I can confirm at this point as well that the orange light that you see when the tube is switched on is definitely an LED. The tubes themselves don't get too hot to touch. They're warm, but they're certainly not hot. And you can actually see when you look closely, there is an LED mounted on the little tube circuit board underneath the tube in the center. Other than that, the only other thing to know is it's actually a beautifully put together piece of equipment. There are no seams anywhere to be seen. This is a single block of aluminium that's then been machined completely from that single block. So there are no joins, no seams, everything is absolutely perfect. Right down to the lettering here on the case is actually machined into it. In terms of power, the V5 has plenty of it. Now I'll put the specs up on screen so you can read through the specifications. But in practical everyday usage, what I can tell you is that on low gain, it's very comfortable driving an easy to drive headphone like the AudioQuest Nighthawk, or anything similar obviously you can put to it. It also though has the juice on high gain, which is a plus 10 dB gain, to pump out plenty of volume into difficult things like a planar magnetic driver, for instance, so your Fostex type drivers or your Audeze type drivers. It's going to have the grunt to drive those, no problems at all. I did find driving Fostex planar drivers that low gain didn't have enough juice. I was at full volume and it was about listening levels in a quiet location, but to get a decent amount of headroom and an extra volume range, I did have to switch to high gain, but that's fine, that's what it's there for. Ultimately what this means is it's got enough juice for anything you're likely to throw at it. So let's talk about the sound from the V5. Being a tube amp, some might expect that it's going to sound thick and warm, but in reality it's much more like a traditional solid state amplifier. I believe the tube gives it a sense of organicness, a naturalness to the sound if you like, and that's a really nice touch. But it certainly doesn't sound thick and lush like some tube amps can. At least with the stock tube, the 6111 Philips tube. I did try briefly the 683 tube that you can buy as an additional piece with this, and I'd have to say it did start to veer into that tubey territory, but in a really good way. I wouldn't say that was a bad thing. It just depends on your personal tastes and also the headphones that you're running it with. For example, if you're running Sennheiser or HD800s, you might like that little bit of extra thickness that the 683 tube provides. For me, with something like the AudioQuest Nighthawks, which are already a really musical sounding headphone, the 6111 tube was just perfect. One of the things I like about the sound from the V5 in particular is its sense of black background. All the individual notes tend to come out of a sense of depth and darkness that allows the music to sound real and alive and completely engaging. In comparison to my reference E12 DIY amplifier that I use, I found the V5 was just constantly that little bit more engaging, that little bit more detailed. Honestly, if I wasn't A-Bing the two of them, I'd have trouble separating them. But when I did put them side by side, the V5 stepped ahead every single time. There's a catch though. The V5 does not play well with earphones. No matter what I tried on it, I would always get noise. So you might be looking at me now noticing that something's a bit different. And that's because it's been a few days and I've done a bit more reading, and I wanted to actually come back and refilm the section about sound quality. After doing some further reading, I've discovered that the V5 is actually very prone, and ALO point this out themselves. The V5 is prone to interference noise. So for instance, your cell phone will be picked up by the circuit. Now, that's a bit of an issue if you're someone like me who uses your phone as a source. And whether you're using a DAC or a line out straight from the phone, if it's capable of that, is irrelevant, because it's about the actual wireless signals from the phone. So the only way to actually use a phone near the V5 is to have the phone on airplane mode, or switch off the Wi-Fi and the cellular connection. And that to me is a little bit of a drawback. Having said that, it allowed me to go back and try the V5 with earphones without a phone anywhere nearby. And so I wanted to come back and give it a much better overview of the sound quality. And what I can tell you is that the sound quality from the V5 is absolutely fantastic, regardless of whether you're using headphones or earphones. However, there's a little bit of hiss if you're using earphones, sensitive earphones. It's at a low enough level that it's going to disappear into the background, so you don't need to worry about it overpowering your music, but it's just enough to take away some of the impact of the black background. I still look at the V5 very much as a headphone amplifier, less so an earphone amplifier. For earphones, I'd probably turn and look at something more like ALO's own RX amplifier, because it's dedicated to IEM, so it's lower gain, it's going to have a much quieter circuit because it's not trying to have the power output of the Continental V5. So I think that's probably the split that I would make. Now, in terms of value for money, the V5 for me is an amplifier that's very much used for headphones. It's probably going to be something that you're going to be using with, say, Sennheisers or Beyerdynamics, Audisies, Focals, the big full-size top-end headphones. And so I question the value of an $800 headphone amplifier that's portable, but it's for those big-sized headphones that you're not likely to be using on the train, for instance. That said, there are those out there that like to have an amplifier in the office, or maybe you travel a lot and you like to pack it into your suitcase to take your really good headphones with you and enjoy them wherever you are. That's where the V5 is going to be fantastic. If you're one of those people, definitely look at the V5. It's a fantastic choice. At $800, it's probably at the upper end of the options out there, and there are others that are going to come very close to the sound quality for maybe a little bit less. But that's not to say it's not worth looking into. I would absolutely give it a try. If you're more like me though, and portable amplification is about versatility, it's about plugging in earphones one day, headphones the next, sitting on a train maybe, and then another day in an office, I think for me the V5 is probably stretching the limits in terms of not being perfect for earphones and still asking that sort of price tag. If you found this review helpful, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more reviews in future, then subscribing will make sure you hear about them as soon as they're released. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here on Passion for Sound.